Welcome in to another episode of my Dynasty Fantasy Football YouTube channel. This time, I'm looking at Dynasty Rookie Sleepers. Make sure to like, comment, and most importantly, subscribe if you haven't. Let's go. So first one, Isaac Guerendo. So he had an interesting college career, and I was talking about him all pre-draft season. I mean, we talked about him quite a few times. So, college, he had a first 3 years at Wisconsin, and then he played 2022 and 2023 at Louisville. So really did not get involved at Wisconsin. I'm not going to go and break down every last statistic from these players when they didn't play that much. But in 2022, still at Wisconsin, he did get a little bit involved, a little bit of work, 64 carries, 385 yards, 5 touchdowns, 6 yards a carry, which is solid, and 17 catches for 115 yards and touchdowns. So that's limited work, but at least he did something. Then in 2023, it was better. He transferred to Louisville, doubled up his carries, 810 yards, 11 touchdowns, 6.1 yards a carry, and 22 catches for 235 yards. So he maintained the efficiency on a little bit more volume. But I'm not going to say that he has a lot of college production because he doesn't. Now, to break down his strengths and weaknesses, the strengths of Guerendo. So I think the big strength is the 4.33 second 40-yard dash. The second I saw that, he has that speed at 221 pounds. That is an elite size speed combo. The most athletic running back in the 2024 class, according to NFL's combine metrics, number 1 in athleticism. So the second I saw that, like I said, I immediately knew this would be a sleeper I was interested in. No matter where he was drafted, I would be more interested in him than others because I love the athleticism for running backs. The weaknesses, I think they're pretty self-explanatory. No real production until the age 23 college season. Turns 24 in June. This is not a long-term dynasty asset. This is not a player where I'm expecting a big dynasty boom or anything. That's not why we're drafting him. Where'd he go? 4th round, San Francisco 49ers, 129th overall. Now, I think most people expected Guerendo to be a 6th or 7th round pick. I thought maybe the 5th. 4th, I think, is higher than even I ever possibly expected. But I had him ranked in rookie drafts in February, March, April, for these very reasons. And now that he went to the 49ers, where, with better than expected draft capital, I think we got to take him seriously. So look at the fantasy fit. So yes, this is a perfect offense for his skills. He has the chance to earn the backup job to Christian McCaffrey. Elijah Mitchell is always hurt and is a free agent after 2024. And Jordan Mason is nothing. So it's a great fantasy fit. He could not have landed in a better situation. What's the rookie draft value? I have him at 307. It's a good, a good pick in that range because you always want to look at running backs in that range. I do have a couple other guys, Bucky Irving and Will Shipley, just slightly ahead of him, but those are not sleepers. Everyone has been talking about Bucky Irving and Will Shipley for the last 3 months. Those are not sleepers. Isaac Guerendo was not ranked in consensus rookie drafts in April. So he is a sleeper. And overall in Dynasty, I have him running back 47. I do like talent. This is the kind of player I like drafting, especially in a startup. He even goes later than in a rookie draft, relatively. So definitely a sleeper for me. Next up, Javon Baker. So Baker had an interesting journey in college as well. He played at Alabama and then at UCF. So let's take a look at that. He didn't do anything at Alabama. Zero. I mean, there was a couple of catches. But really, for 2 years at Alabama, nothing. Then he transferred to UCF in 2022, and suddenly he was pretty good. 56 catches, 796 yards, 5 touchdowns. But is that special? No. However, 2023, okay. Actually, fewer catches, but 1,139 yards. Pretty good for UCF. 7 touchdowns. So overall, that last season, I think, is what got him on the NFL draft radar. What are his strengths? Play strong. He has decent routes. And that final year of production, that's good. It's very, very good. Weaknesses? Nothing. Nothing at Alabama. Couldn't do anything. I mean, literally nothing. And he's nothing special athletically. 30th ranked among 2024 wide receivers in the NFL's athleticism score. Nothing impressive there. Where'd he go? 4th round, New England Patriots, 110th overall. So it's interesting. The Patriots, of course, took 2 wide receivers. They took Jalen Polk in the 2nd and Javon Baker in the 4th. So let's take a look at how that looks. So, of course, they have Drake May at quarterback. A wide open depth chart, but crowded. They have Polk, who they took in the 2nd. Demario Douglas, who was kind of their one last year. They also re-signed Kendrick Bourne and signed KJ Osborne in free agency. And also now they have Baker, and that doesn't even count Juju Smith-Schuster, who I assume will be on a different team. He posted that phone picture and wanting to be traded. And I don't even count like Jalen Reagor, Tyquan Thornton. But realistically, I think those 5 guys, Polk, Bourne, Osborne, Douglas, and Baker are the ones competing for playing time. And right now, I think Baker is 5th on that list. Now, that doesn't mean he can't climb up. And it doesn't mean I don't like him as a sleeper, because I do. There's no one established here, which means that if he plays well, it's not like there's 2 high-priced free agents ahead of him. If he plays well, he could absolutely be the wide receiver 1 or wide receiver 2 on this team, but he has to play well. So that's why I have him still at 401. I'm not saying I don't like him. Don't draft him ahead of Jalen Polk. I'm not recommending that. But usually I don't like day 3 wide receivers, but this is one with a path to opportunity with a young quarterback. So for those reasons, I do think it's an opportunity worth taking. And I have him wide receiver 78 in my overall dynasty ranks. Our last sleeper today, Kimani Vidal. So this is more in the vein of what I'm usually looking for. Later round running back who had decent college production and now lands in a good spot. So let's take a look at that. He played at Troy, 4 years at Troy. And you'll notice that all 4 years were kind of similar. So 2020, 101 carries, 516 yards, 4 touchdowns, 5.1 yards a carry, 26 catches, 225 yards. And then kind of a few more carries, reduced efficiency, similar receiving work, same 5, similar touchdowns. 2022, he'd stepped it up, 231 carries, 1,132 yards, 10 touchdowns. Still only 4.9 yards a carry, but 26 catches for 140 yards. And then the last year was his best year. Most carries, most yards, most touchdowns, best efficiency, despite the increased volume, which is hard to do. And still 18 catches for 201 yards and touchdown. So how do we look at Vidal as a prospect? His strengths. So pretty good on the size speed combo. Not Guerendo, but 4.46 40 at 213 pounds. Very solid. Consistent receiving work in college. We like that. And he showed ability to score touchdowns in 2022 and 2023, which is always important. Weaknesses. Never really showed high efficiency for a small school running back. You'd like to see a little bit more than that for someone playing at a smaller school. And the agility is not there. And he turns 23 in August. So we do have some weaknesses. Now, he landed on the Chargers, 181st overall. So Chargers, we know they have a lot of people thought they would take Blake Corum, but instead their pick was Kimani Vidal. So, we know it's a good fantasy fit. And let's take a look. We know that the Chargers under Jim Harbaugh want to be a run heavy. There should be a good offense behind Justin Herbert. The starter is 29 years old and Gus Edwards. Their backup is always injured and many injuries coming off an Achilles tear and J.K. Dobbins. Vidal is the clear favorite for the RB3 role because there's no one else really there. And, this is an opportunity where he could easily pick up some value. So in your early 4th rounds at 403, this is the kind of player I like taking. And I have him RB59 in my overall rankings. Now, this week, we actually have today, we have a lot of news. There's a lot of news in the last day. So I'm going to break that down as kind of our second segment here. Let's start with Travis Kelce signing a new contract with the Chiefs. I guess it's not technically an extension. Basically, it rips up his old deal. And now we're on for 2 years, $34.25 million with $16 million in new guarantees. Still runs through 2025, but it's far more guaranteed than before. And it probably means that Kelce plans to play the 2 years and then probably retire. I don't know if the Chiefs would have given him extra money for 2 years if, they probably would have tried to get extra years on the back of it, but they didn't. which might suggest that Kelce's probably planning to hang it up after 2025. Kelce's dynasty value, I still have him tight end 9. At this point, you have to understand that you're never going to get the dynasty value back. So it's just you're taking the rest of his career, whatever it is. So I still have him ahead of guys like David Njoku, Evan Ingram, who are also not super young and haven't really delivered high-end production like Kelce. But I have him behind, younger players like Andrews, Hawkinson, Kittle, who have delivered high-end production at times and are significantly younger. As for anything else with Kelce, this extension means he's probably playing the 2 years, which means that any stash value of Noah Gray or rookie pick Jared Wiley, probably out. Not interested in those guys. Next up, Michael Gallup signed with the Raiders. 1 year, up to $3 million. I think this signifies that we can be done with Gallup for Dynasty. He's already 28 years old. Not good. Gallup hasn't broken 450 yards since 2020. So over the last 3 years, he's done nothing. Nothing at all. Nothing at all that we care about for our fantasy dynasty teams. Nothing. I have him wide receiver 116. Unless the Raiders trade Davante Adams, which I do not think is happening, he's at best the 4th target on this team behind Adams, who's target hog, Jacoby Myers, who played really well last year, and Brock Bowers, who was a star. So maybe he'll be behind those guys. And that doesn't even include Michael Mayer, who is a good player and just was screwed over by Brock Bowers, and Trey Tucker, who they spent a 3rd-round pick on last year and actually flashed decently. But the acquisition of Gallup does hurt the stash value of Trey Tucker because Gallup is going to see at least some playing time. So I moved Tucker down a few spots. I still actually kind of like him as a back-end stash because he was a 3rd-round pick, but it's safe to say that there just cannot be any expectations now that Bowers is there. They're going to play 12 personnel. We just can't expect anything from Trey Tucker. But, 3rd-round pick wouldn't cut him in Dynasty just yet. I'd rather have Tucker over Gallup. Next up today, Zay Jones, released by the Jaguars. Now, this was totally expected to me. Zay Jones was a placeholder in case the Jaguars did not get a receiver in the 1st round. They did get a receiver in the 1st round, so they released Jones. The difference between Zay Jones and Michael Gallup, though, is that Zay Jones is not washed. Just 2 years ago, he had 82 catches, 823 yards, and 5 touchdowns on 121 targets. That was just 2 years ago in 2022. Last year, he struggled with injuries, but in just 9 games, he still had 64 targets, almost just over 7 targets a game, 34 catches, 321 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Again, in just 9 games. So he is not washed. There are a bunch of teams that need a wide receiver, including the Bills, the Steelers, the Chiefs, if Rashee Rice gets suspended, the Cowboys, the Lions, the Vikings, the Saints, the Cardinals. All of these teams need a wide receiver 2 or 3 or somewhere in that mix. So if you have Zay Jones, I actually don't, if someone cuts him, I might pick him up because he might have value or at least contingent value in one of those situations. So I would not hesitate to add him to the back end of my dynasty rosters. Now, if you like the video, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. And of course, you can sign up for the Patreon at patreon.com/fantasyadvice. That's where you can get my dynasty ranks, rookie ranks, and access to the Patreon Discord. Plus, you can ask advanced questions for my YouTube channel. I have a couple of them today, so let's jump into it. How do you view late seconds this year in 1QB? Are you trying hard to get out of them for random future seconds? Yeah, I mean, I'd rather trade for a future second over actually taking like a Jermaine Burton or a Malachi Corley or a Ben Sinnott in just regular 1QB. But if you can't, you can't. I don't mind taking the players. But yes, do 10 to 11. Yeah, I'm fine trading out of those for random future seconds. Kind of similar question, actually. In one quarterback or even in Superflex, what are you looking for the most in the later 2nd-round picks? Draft capital or opportunity? There comes a point in which opportunity matters more than draft capital, but the late 2nd round isn't there yet. The players in there are mostly ones with opportunity and draft capital. And 1QB, like I said, you're looking for Jermaine Burton, Malachi Corley. In Superflex, you're kind of looking at Jalen Polk, Roman Wilson in the late 2nd. The one exception is Jalen Wright. Jalen Wright might have been a 4th-round pick, but the upside as a running back in the Miami Dolphins offense is so immense that I am okay taking him in the late second, even though the draft capital is not there. But outside of Jalen Wright, really, it's more draft capital. But of course, you want opportunity and draft capital, which, Roman Wilson, Jalen Polk, and Jermaine Burton all have, and Malachi Corley to a degree as well. So that's kind of how I see that. Once again, if you like the video, make sure to like, comment, and most importantly, subscribe if you haven't. Of course, check out all of my previous rookie videos. I've had recorded almost every day for the last 15 days. So you've got a lot of rookie videos to check out. And as always, sign up for the Patreon at patreon.com/fantasyadvice. But once again, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all later. Peace out.